right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ladies of the PGS. I am your host, RM, and of course, we have with us Lorena Creole, my co-host. Lorena, how are you tonight or today? It feels like still daytime, right?
Well, I am doing great, doing wonderful. So glad that you are back safe and sound, and we are back in business with Ladies of the PGS live.
Absolutely, and it's great to be back, Lorena. Of course, I missed you terribly, and doing this show. Being away, it's not the same. But and thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson, who helped out with the thumbnail. So great to see you, Tom. We are all good people, and everybody who turns out for Ladies of the PGS, we are back. And I have to tell you, Lorena, what an incredible time it is right now for Super Mario Brothers movie. Lorena, I'm sure. I mean, there's no one out there who hasn't heard of the Super Mario Brothers in general from Nintendo. This is one of those games that kind of started the craze in home entertainment centers because I had entertainment consoles. I had a Nintendo 64 and it came with two games. Both you and
Mm-hmm.
I had it, Lorena. This is what we know. This was kind of like our life. You got the console, you got that Nintendo 64, and it was like, oh my god, this is when it started for me. It came with two games, and I'm guessing you had the same two: Super Mario Brothers and The Legend of Zelda. Oh, it also came with Duck Hunt. It
Oh,
also.
yeah, see, Duck Hunt. Yeah, that was my jam.
Oh my gosh, Lorena, it was so much fun. We were so excited to get this. The three games that it came with. I played the heck out of these games. And it wasn't until years later that my brother was like, "Oh, you didn't know there were hidden things in there?" And I'm like, "No." And so, like I'm a slow gamer, it doesn't matter. I was still enjoying the game 5 or 6 years after I had gotten that Nintendo 64, guys. So just to let you know, by the time I purchased it, Mario and Donkey Kong and Frogger, those were all considered classics by the time I even got
Mm-hmm.
to them.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, guys. This was one of the biggest gaming franchise, most popular and most well-known gaming franchises of all time. In fact, before I even get to first of all, we have so much to say about this. Lorena, I have so much. I can't even, I'm so excited to Super Mario Brothers right now. I can't even speak. Like I'm so excited from it. And this is why we love this stuff. And this is how we expect an IP to kind of continue and celebrate and kind of be this way because we enjoy this stuff so much. It's so much of our childhood, so much of our even adulthood now. Lorena, about maybe 15 years ago or so, I remember reading an article of a man who was holding a concert of just video game themes. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
he had, the Zelda, the dit, 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 that we all know, but also all the other ones too that we know from Nintendo 64. And he talked about how
Right.
important the music was and how playing the game was important. And then I kind of like came to realize, gee, how many people know about this? The entire world knows about Super Mario. So this was one of those games that I think there isn't anybody on earth who hasn't heard of Super Mario. And with that being said, Lorena, they had a movie that was made, a few years ago live. It didn't do well. And I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it had to do with casting. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Oh my God, I have so much to say about this. I think a lot of it had to do with casting and things like that. But Lorena, we've been getting movies that have been very odd and we don't know what to expect from them. But this was not
Mm-hmm.
the case. And I did just want to say that, just out of the gate, it's been a few weeks since the movie's been out. The movie's doing tremendously well, tremendously well. It's going to probably make $1 billion worldwide at this point, Lorena, without missing a beat. It's a movie that anybody can see regardless of your age. It does not matter how old you are. You can be 3, you can be 100 and watch this film. And I did just want to share. And Lorena, oh my God, um, there is so much to say about this thing. And I do want to show. Lorena went to see the film, and she has some video that I want to show. I'm going to show your video first
Okay.
because I think the video shows just the excitement when you think about something that's over 40 years old, Lorena. Over 40 years old, where you think about something that's over 40 years old and people are as excited to see it today as we were when we picked up our consoles in I'm not going to say what year, but let's just say a long time ago when we picked up those Nintendo 64s. These are people outside of your theater where you went. Lorena, explain to us what we're even looking at. People who were so excited to see this film that they're trying to pretend like they're characters in the video game, Lorena.
Yes, yes. So I actually drove from my house to Universal City Walk, which is located at Universal Orlando here in Orlando, Florida. Paid to see it in 3D because I wanted the huge experience. I saw the trailer online, but in another 3D movie, I saw the trailer in 3D and
Wow.
I felt like literally I was dropped into the game. So I said, I've got to see this in 3D. So yeah, I paid the extra money,
Wow.
paid the upgrade, went to the theater. The movie was playing on, I think, like 4 or 5 different screens. My showing for 3D was completely sold out. And this van that they had parked in front of the theater, a constant flow of people stopping to take pictures. Like one guy you see here, he's got his Mario hat on. There were people there in cosplay,
Yeah.
Mario, Luigi, Wario. I was hoping I would see a Bowser, but I didn't see a Bowser. Some people had, little toad mushroom hats on, which I guess they got from
Wow.
somewhere else. They
Yes.
had those on. And without a doubt, more often than not, people were coming up to this van, all ages, not only just posing, but doing the jumps from the video game. There was one family of about 10, and the poor guy who had to take the picture. He's like, okay, I need you to all jump at the same time. And they were kind of some, not really. He's like, okay, wait, we got to take the picture over again. We got to take the picture over again. But that's what people did repeatedly.
Yeah.
I mean, pictures in front, pictures in the back, pictures on the side of it, and just excited everybody in the theater, just having a great time. Families, so many families, and people like us who grew up playing the game. I'm not going to spoil it, but like in the opening of the movie, and they're kind of just like the opening montage and what they're doing after we get introduced to Mario and Luigi. And I'm sitting there laughing because I'm just like, it's the same moves from the game. And of course, the kids are just like, yay, go Mario. And I'm just like, no, I don't think you understand. It is literally side scrolling, like the old school game.
It was incredible. And we're going to talk about this, Lorena. I cannot control my enthusiasm for what we've experienced with this movie. I don't even know how to express myself because there's so much I want to say about this. There's so much you want to say about this. And there's so much to be said about this because this has been incredible. This is exactly what everybody wanted. I've never seen anything like this. It's even more than what I wanted. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But I do also want to mention that, guys, overall, and I'm going to share some screens. I'm like obligatory. I do have to do this. The Rotten Tomatoes scores, are 96% audience approval. And I don't even believe that 59%
I
for
don't either.
critics. I don't believe it. I think that's fake. This movie has made almost $1 billion. I'm sorry, there's no movie that's made that much and has a 59% critic score, I believe, Lorena. I just don't.
No,
I
no.
think
And one more thing to add. You said that billion. Hang on to your hat.
yes.
This film has not been released in Japan and South Korea. I believe it's going to be released either this week or next week because of Golden Week that is over there when the kids are out of school.
Oh my God. Oh my God, Lorena, when I was doing the title for tonight's show, I really was starting out with something like Super Mario is 1 billion in more ways than one. So I'm going to get to what that means and what I'm talking about. And of course, Lorena, you already know what I'm talking about. Some of you already know what I'm referring to. It's going to make $1 billion.
Oh, way
It's
more than a
going,
billion. Yeah.
yes, it's going
Yeah.
to make $1 billion. This animated film is going to make $1 billion. So that's
Totally.
just it. Like it's going to make that. At a bare minimum, we haven't even gotten to the summer yet, Lorena. It's going to be in the theaters all summer long, and people are going to be going to see this movie all summer long, and it's going to continue to make bank. This film is not going anywhere anytime soon. Even if they brought it home streaming, Lorena, people would still go to the movies and pay money to see this film. That's how good this film is. Me too. I'm waiting for someone to say, "Hey, you want to go see it?" Yeah, I'll go see it. I would see it again. And I think that speaks volumes, Lorena, because I can't say that about every single film that I've seen this year. Now, the other thing that I wanted to say that I absolutely have to show, I'm so excited, guys. You have no idea, is even before the film, it might actually have been around the same time the film came out, Lorena, was a news, and this is incredibly important only because I felt like this was telling us what was going to happen. That because there was more than 1 billion, it's not even the views. Imagine a billion views on YouTube. I don't even want to even think about how many videos there are about Super Mario, because from the very beginning of YouTube, I've seen Super Mario videos. In fact, I think one of the first ones that I saw, I'm sure you did, was someone playing the theme on their piano. And a lot of people have done that. I've even seen a cappella people do it. Somebody do it with like kazoos, like some sort of reiteration of the song. But there has been, I would even venture to guess that there's probably over 500 million videos of Super Mario on YouTube. So the idea that there would be more than 100 billion views on YouTube of Super Mario just a Mario related video is astonishing. It's astonishing because when you think about how many people have seen it, there's nobody who's ever been on YouTube who hasn't seen a video related to Super Mario. That's what I think this is saying. I think what it means is that once you get on there, at some time, even if you only spend 10 minutes of your life on YouTube, you're going to see something about Super Mario on YouTube. So it's 1 billion views there, and only to find that it's also almost $1 billion for this movie, which I think was this was kind of a good foreshadowing for it. It didn't need the 1 billion views on YouTube because it was going to make a lot of money anyway. It only cost $100 million to make this film, Lorena, right? It only cost $100 million to make the film, from what I've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. $100 million, and now
it's about right.
Yeah, now it's close to making $1 billion, and we're not even in the. It hasn't even gotten to its full sunrise portion of this film. What has it been? 2-3 weeks? That's a pretty turnaround to make almost $1 billion. $1 billion at a time when people are saving up money. They're supposedly not going to the movies. They're supposedly not doing a lot of stuff that they claim that they've, may or may not been doing. To be honest with you, Lorena, this is, and it's also broken records. It is apparently the highest grossing movie of a video game of all time. I believe that's what they said. Guys, I'm sorry if I'm not getting it 100% right, but the point is that this film is the highest grossing film to ever be based on a video game of all time. I think it's the highest grossing animated film, Lorena, right?
That is correct. It's beat out Frozen 2. It is just stomping all over records that Disney Animation used to hold. It is an absolute juggernaut.
It is a juggernaut. I'm looking for the one of what is it? How much money they made? What is it called when how much you make? Super Mario movie gross. I couldn't remember what I was looking for, and they're saying that it's expected to gross $1 billion at the box office. So far, I believe it's close to $830 million right now, or maybe even more. It's maybe even more. It's going to be the #1 spot for the 3rd week in a row. Every time I click on a link, it like gives me this funny thing. To be honest with you, Lorena, we haven't seen anything like this. Forbes magazine is talking about Super Mario Brothers, and is saying very clearly, let me just see if I can close this out. It keeps giving me, and I'm so sorry, guys. I keep getting pop-ups like crazy. You already know. But I did just want to share this, Lorena. I'm just frazzled from this whole thing, with excitement over how cool this whole thing has been, Lorena. And you and I had talked, we heavily anticipated this film. We talked about it, for a long time, about what expectations were, what we thought would be happening, what we were hoping for. And I'm going to get to that in a second. I just want to show this in Forbes magazine. Super Mario Brothers movie topping massive 830 million box office, which is astounding. It's astounding, guys. This is not the norm. And it says it seems certain that the video game adaptation will hit 1 billion as a top contender for the highest grossing film by 2023. It's just unbelievable what's happening. People are talking about it's great fun, worth seeing. Just it's just unbelievable how it's performing against some of these others. They're saying it's the highest grossing video game film of all time.
All time.
So that means that regardless of what we've seen in the past, this is the one that set the record. It's made $1 billion. We know it's going to go past $1 billion. I can't even, but you know what makes this even more exciting? The reason I'm not excited, it is true, it's made a lot of money. Lorena, I'm not excited because it made $1 billion. I'm excited because it was so freaking good. It was fantastic, Lorena. You mentioned right from the get-go that you see something that we're all expecting to see as fans of Super Mario is the gameplay that we know, the traditional gameplay of the game. But we're not just limited to that. We get Donkey Kong in there too. And it starts off, Lorena, it starts off with what I consider the sweetest serenade I've seen of all time. You know, they used Jack Black in The Mandalorian, but I have to be honest with you, they didn't utilize that man right. Because this was Jack
the
Black.
Peaches song. Why did it remind me of something from MTV? Like back in the day, the MTV videos. I mean, when I first heard it, I thought it was a joke. And then he kept going with it. I'm like, oh my God, he's all in with this.
I know. I fell in love with Bowser. I love this character. I mean, we grew up with him. We knew he was kind of like, you know, I guess the bad guy. But yeah. Lorena, I'm in love with Bowser right now because of that sweet serenade. It was the sweetest, cutest, adorable, just absolutely infectious. I'm in love. I can't get over how cute it was. Oh my God. What about you?
It was great because how many movies have we seen the trope of the evil villain who's in love with the princess or whatever, and it's like, okay, I gotta woo her, so what can I do? What can I do? Okay, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. And you can't help it. It's just like, he's such an a-hole, but he's really not right now. He just wants to, impress this girl, even though so like, no, I'm not gonna marry you. Heck no. I'm not going to do that. But just that transformation, it's something you've seen in movies past. And just to see not only Bowser doing that, but you forget that is Jack Black voicing Bowser. And that is the best voice talent ever. When you have a character like that and you don't see the actor, you just see the character. Like, also, case in point, Keegan-Michael Key, who plays Toad. I kept forgetting that was Keegan-Michael Key.
Yes. Oh gosh, Lorena, I have to tell you, the performances were stellar. And as I said, they went ahead and decided that they were going to use Jack Black in The Mandalorian, but we knew it was not what it should have been. After seeing him after seeing him do this serenade, and Lorena, it does catch you off guard because you're like, what is this? What am I watching? What is this, Super American? Am I in the right theater? Like, what is this? And then you realize what you're watching is Bowser singing about how much he loves Princess Peach.
He loves Peach.
And it's sincere. It's true. He does love her. He loves this woman. And I'm like, wow, this is genuine. It's good because it's true. It's real. It's not some fake garbage. He's in love. This is a love story, Lorena. This is a love story. Mm-hmm. I was not expecting to be swept off my feet by Bowser. He got me. I mean, you can't not love this character after this and see the entire story unfold in a different way. It seems very real. I mean, it's been real for those of us who play this game. But it's become this a different entity for me where I'm like, I'm going to have to get that stuffed Aunt Bowser animal. Like, oh, there's all sorts of things. And and because of this movie, because of how good it was, and there's so much in it that was good, I want to play the game again. Now, I have to ask you this question, Lorena. Did this movie make you want to play the game again?
Absolutely. And not only that, again, the scene with them on the Rainbow Road. Oh my God. Even better in 3D. I'm like, I hate this course so daggone much, but I think I'm gonna go back and try to play it now. It really did. I mean, even if you were a kid who's never played Mario Kart, so to speak, you get the stakes of what's going on. And when the one turtle flipped out and turned into a blue shell, there were all these people in the theater like me, like, oh shoot, this is not good. This is not good. Kids are like, what are you talking about? Oh, just wait.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
This is what IPs are supposed to do to you. This is what a film's supposed to do to you. This is what's supposed to happen when you go to entertainment. You're supposed to be entertained. And when it's done right, it makes you want to come back and have this experience again. It makes you want to do extra things. It makes you want to buy merchandise. It makes you want to tell other people how cool it was. It makes you want to, like even pretend, like you said, outside of the theater to be one of the characters. I haven't felt this way in so long, Lorena, and I was not expecting this. I wasn't expecting to be serenaded. It felt like Bowser was serenading to you. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, because it was built up, it's just like, I have this star and I want to take over the Mushroom Kingdom, but Princess Peach, think she'll like me? Think she'll like me? And that was like his whole thing. I want her to like me. Okay, I kind of have to. You see him like, okay, I have to do this to try to impress her. Is she interested in that plumber? Your jealousy is? It's like, is that plumber? Like, oh, I guess he really, he really does. I love that part.
Oh
I
my
loved it. It was great. It played out exactly the way that you should. You felt bad for Bowser, but you still wanted him to go down,
Yes, that's what's so amazing about it. I mean, I don't think there's any way to really describe it, guys. You have to go and see this film. And I honestly, if you are not a fan of Super Mario, you will still love this film because it's so freaking adorable. It's so adorable that you're just gonna enjoy the experience. It won't even matter whether or not you're familiar. For those of us who are familiar with the game, this is gonna be very satisfying for you. If you've ever played the game, whether it's Mario Kart, whether it's Donkey Kong, whether it's just Super Mario Brothers, any of those games, if you've ever played those, this is going to be incredibly satisfying for you. You're going to get it. It's going to make sense. But even if you haven't, this is an incredible film. Honestly, I wasn't expecting the villain to have so much charm and so much class. This is really something that I have to say, it's a movie done right. It's a franchise done right. They made the characters look, recognizable. So we weren't like, well, who are we looking at? They didn't do that. Every character looks the way I believe, let's say if they're supposed to look like that, we can recognize them. So there's no confusion. They didn't do a switcheroo kind of thing. And the characters are believable. Their attitudes are very friendly and upbeat. Ironically, the characters, even when faced with danger, are very cheerful. Lorena, this is like one of the funnest adventures I've ever seen. We've gone to different realms in it. There's a different world, or let's say sections you go to. You understand the real life situations and then the fantasy situations. This really is a fun foray that's meant to entertain you. You're not supposed to take any of this stuff too seriously. Just have a fun time, enjoy it. I loved when she was kind of like, there was like a training, let's say, the training montage, if you will, or the training.
Yes, that was fun.
It was just really, I think that they thought about what they wanted to put in here. They were very careful. Whoever wrote this film was very careful and said, look, this is what we need to do to make it a success. We have people who've been playing this game for 40 years, and we can't mess this up. We have to get this right. It has to be balanced right. And I do want to thank Punk Tracy for the 99-cent super sticker. Thank you so much, Punk Tracy. We so appreciate that. They were very, very careful with this. I can't stop talking about this.
They really were. And one thing that I really did like about this film, they showed the importance of family. They showed the importance of brotherhood.
Yes.
Um, and one of the most important things that I loved about this, that no matter how small you are, you can still make a difference. I love the scene where Princess Peach is just basically like, I don't know if we're gonna get, we're gonna get through this. And Toad is like, I will not let them hurt you. And she was just kind of like, really? You? And he's like, I will not let them hurt you. And he's so determined because when we meet him in the beginning, he's little, little thing, but he has the biggest heart and the biggest ride in Mario Kart. Okay, throw that out there too. But it was just littlest ones, with Mario. I wish we would have seen more scenes with Mario and Luigi, but you see Mario as the one always standing up, standing up for his brother, standing up, to the really big plumber guy, and Luigi's like, why do you do that? And Mario's like, you can't be afraid forever.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, remember when we used to get movies, like that all the time? He's like, we're brothers and nothing bad can happen unless we stick together.
It was so important for us to see the support that we saw, but it was also important for us to see the different personalities that I didn't know I was going to enjoy. Like we were talking about Bowser, seeing the princess, where the princess says, well, I don't actually know where I am from. And I thought that was so important. We didn't need to know. We don't want to know. It's kind of like, let's just enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
Just let it be fun. We don't have to define this. We can just go ahead and say, yeah, it's just going to be a fun, enjoyable ride. And seeing the characters be able to manipulate themselves too, would be like as if you were playing the game. Guys, you're going to see a lot of sequences that were gameplay sequences.
Oh, yeah. One word, I guess 3 words. I'm a cat. Yeah. I'm a cat.
It was absolutely amazing, Reina. I can't even express in words how amazing this was. And this is what we're looking for in a franchise. This is exactly what we would expect from any franchise that is as old as this and is as important as this, with its success, especially in the video game side. It's a tremendous success in the video game side. Lorena, I'm just completely, and I can't say enough about it. I think it's overall a fantastic franchise, a fantastic film. They wanted you to enjoy this. I want to get stuffed animals that look like this. I can't even stop, lauding how wonderful it was. So guys, that's my feeling about Super Mario Brothers. You heard Lorena's feeling about Super Mario Brothers. If you guys haven't seen this film, please just go ahead and go see this film. You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
You really are. If you want a film just enjoyable that, your kids can sit down and watch, and you can go as a whole family to the theater and not feel like you got ripped off by the experience. Or even if you're just like, well, we can't go now, but we can't wait till we get it, on digital or on DVD. It's just a heartfelt film that, again, shows the importance of brotherhood, the importance of standing up for what's right, being brave even when you're scared to death. And again, no matter how small you are, you can make a difference. It really is. It's so inspirational. And there's scenes in there where kids clapping, everything, because they were so happy with with what was going on screen.
yes. The you're right, Lorena. When you realize, I hope I hope I didn't mess up the screen, but when you realize in the film, Lorena, you're right, where the characters realize that everything's going to be okay, and you know how important it was to know that your family is there, like what you said, Lorena, the affirmations, the saying that we're going to make sure nothing bad is going to happen to you. Even the notion of, you know, being aware how, you know, obviously Mario isn't trying to find his brother for part of the film, Lorraine,
Mm-hmm.
and the pursuit of saying, I've got to find him, and knowing very well he doesn't know where he is. You know, it's like, where is he? And the idea that it didn't even matter where he was going to find him. That's
Mm-hmm.
what was going to happen. It was so important. And something else, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. We're like halfway through the show. I've been talking about we both been talking about this, like, it's been so good. The idea that we've, you know, like we've all played the game, but I think this
Mm-hmm.
really solidified the actual story that the game is based on for me. I knew that there was a princess. I knew that there was,
Mm-hmm.
like, I knew these, but this felt very different for me. It was almost as if I needed this to see this story to completely understand how expansive the you know the you know this IP actually is, because it is expansive after 40 years,
Yes.
but
Uh-huh.
also that the story is real. It's a real story, and you know it's really a sweet story, you know, something that I think can appeal to anybody. Certainly there are a lot of aspects of it that were just absolutely adorable, and I think sometimes we need something like that to give us, you know, bolster our spirits and give us hope, and kind of something that we can look forward to. It really does feel good to have that feeling from something like this. And I didn't know I was going to feel like this, Lorena. I'm still kind of in love with Bowser a little bit. I feel a little sorry for him.
Yeah. Yeah. You
But
kind of did, even though it's like, yeah, you did have that coming. I mean, you did threaten Toad.
yeah, he did. He did.
Okay.
And as sweet as this as the serenade was in the beginning, he did kind of, you know, go too far. And I
Yeah.
think that also kind of maybe is character building, that you know, they didn't have to do that, but they did. And they wanted to grab you right from the beginning. I think
Mhm.
especially for the ladies, it's like I totally love that piano scene.
I
Is
did. Like I said, straight out of the friggin' 80s.
Yep. It was wonderful. And I could see Jack Black at the piano doing his thing. So kudos to the entire production
Mhm.
team of Super Mario. It makes bank, 1 billion views on YouTube, probably over a billion videos on YouTube. An incredibly recognizable franchise that didn't let us down this time. An enjoyable experience. It's still making money, guys. It's not going away.
It is not going to stop. The rewatchability of this movie is insane, which is great news for parents. Because if you get a movie, those kids won't freaking leave and they'll just keep watching it over and over and over again,
And,
which they will. It's perfect.
and the story is not thin. Like it's a legitimate good amount of story. It was a feature length animated film. It was. It wasn't filler. There was no filler, none of that stuff. Everything
Hmm.
meant something in this. And I'm really impressed by what this team did. Congratulations to them for
Illumination, I'm telling you, they know their audience. They're responsible for, Despicable Me, the Minions, um, Illumination Entertainment, Animation. They know their audience, and it shows.
yes. So that's all I'm gonna say. I did you have any other comments about Super Mario Brothers, Lord?
Only thing I'm gonna say is with Super Mario Brothers, I believe directed by Chris Meledandri, who's I think he's head producer over at Illumination. The animation crown is official. It's been taken from Disney, and now Illumination Entertainment owns it, or I should say, Universal owns it.
Wow, that is fantastic. Lorena, there's Super Mario World, Also to look forward to, which is something I want to go and see even more than I did before. And I have a feeling rides and other attractions, a part two is probably on its way in the next few years or so. We really got a treat here.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for this production team and for the performers, of course, Jack Black, and all the other voice actors who made this so incredible. Now, it is true that I do want to say one or two things about the Mandalorian, guys. As you know, I can't. I almost feel like I have to say something about the Mandalorian. We all watched it, or at least most of us watched it. I don't know why I can't get closer. Oh yeah, there. That's a little bit better. We all watched this finale, and we all had different opinions about it. And uh, it's been a very interesting Mandalorian season. It was kind of an up and down season for a lot of people, Lorena, and I wasn't expecting it to be a rocky road for so many. What did you, I mean, were you surprised that there were so many mixed emotions about season three?
Um, I was surprised in, well, yes and no. I was surprised that the same up and down, but even more so, that happened in season 2 happened in season 3. I thought that perhaps they would have learned the lessons from season 2 and wouldn't pull them into season 3. But once I started seeing the season, especially all the way through to the end, yeah, it was pretty obvious, and I didn't want to be disappointed, but I was by just how uneven, it was in relation to season 2 and in relation to how good season 1 was. Usually it's kind of the opposite way. Season 1, it's like it's good, but they're kind of rocky before they stick the landing, and then usually season 2 they nail the landing, and then season 3 it's like they usually amp up on it, but just it is disappointing, and it's a little heartbreaking for me.
Well, for me, season two had that, finale with Luke, and it was going to be hard to kind of top that. But even so, something that I found kind of interesting, and I did mention this, of course, in the review that we did together on your channel as well, which was much more in depth than the 5 minutes that you and I are going to talk about here. But the idea of who these Coruscant elite people, and that kind of feeds into my theory of, or at least the theory of these elitist people in the Empire who kind of sat by and watched the Empire take over, so to speak. And some of those
Hmm.
people we see, especially in the Lizzo episode where she's with Jack Black. And mind you, you and I were just talking about how fantastic Jack Black was in the Super Mario movie. And very clearly, even though he appeared in The Mandalorian, we all know that he wasn't used to the best of his ability here.
Nah.
And I think that that might be a clue when you get such a mega star like Jack Black to be in something like this. And he plays this kind of, character that doesn't really have that much significance. Even
Hmm.
Lizzo, like let's see her perform if that's what it's going to be. Let's see her perform or what her forte is. We didn't get those types of things in there. So, I kind of feel like they dropped the ball with that. And especially with Jack Black knowing his capability, especially after seeing the Super Mario movie and then seeing him in there. And I was like, wow, what a big difference.
Yeah.
We didn't see him at his, potential, after, especially after that Super Mario performance. So, I think
Hmm.
it goes to show you, casting also has a lot to do sometimes with shows like this. But they kind of gave us some stuff that they said they were going to give us, but for many of us, it wasn't exactly all we hoped it would be. Honestly, I wanted to see more fighting, but that's okay. We still did see a lot. It had a lot in it, and it was entertaining. But yeah, it was a little different, I think, for a lot of people. Expectations, and I enjoyed it. So, will I rewatch it again? Probably. But it was very interesting to see some of the stars who they put in there. I'm still
Hmm.
trying to figure out the Jack Black Lizzo thing when we know that they could have been put into another role in the same series that could have meant something more. So there is that. But it is done. I don't know when the next season is coming out, Lorena, but apparently it's been written. And also, I think that, as I said before, The Mandalorian is not the greatest television series of all time. It isn't. We've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed a ton of parts from it. So I'm just going to enjoy the parts that I want to enjoy and go on from there. But with that being said, Lorena, I do also want to talk about another topic. And guys, please do check out Lorena and I do like a more in-depth review on her channel with Retro Nerd Girl, where we talk about The Mandalorian in depth. It's like almost a 3-hour review, right?
Yeah, I think it was 2 hours, 22 minutes, because it's like the last episode and like the season in review. So it's pretty packed.
It is packed. So guys, if you want to hear us talk more about, obviously we don't have enough time to talk about everything in the series for that. But I can't help but remark about how different Jack Black is in Super Mario, which is made almost $1 billion compared to his casting here. So that's something that I can't help but, to mention it, because you can't ignore a performance that was so stellar in one regard when someone is cast the right way, as far as I'm concerned. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is kind of a controversial. What am I saying? It's like one of the most controversial damn things that everybody's talking about right now. Kind of a controversial.
Pretty much.
But Lorena, it's not anything that I ever thought was ever a debate. I mean, like, it was never anything that came up for debate. I mean, people could speculate about it, but I never knew that it was a debate. I always assumed that when people, knew about this particular woman, this is not loading correctly, about Cleopatra, that everyone understood who Cleopatra is and Cleopatra's background and all that sort of stuff. But apparently, I guess there are people who had questions or, were somewhat skeptical about what, history has been saying about Cleopatra. I'm being kind, because we are talking about the Cleopatra. The thing about this is this: Netflix has been giving us incredible documentaries using scholars that tell the truth for once. Like I've seen a show called Age of Empires, and they had the Roman Empire. And it was the first time that I ever saw anything about Caligula that was truthful, depicted his life in a realistic way. And I could understand, rather than sort of like a dramatization where, he's chopping off people's hands and shit like that. So, we could see those up forever. We could see movies like that forever. But this documentary that Netflix had been focusing on, these documentaries they've been doing, seem to be the real deal. Only to find out there's a documentary about Cleopatra that's being produced by Jada Pinkett Smith. And when you see, it hasn't come out yet, but when you see the advertisement, one of the things that's said in the trailer is, well, everybody says that Cleopatra is this way, but my mother always said, and I'm like, what? Your mother always said? So I guess the point of the documentary is that this person's mother has been telling them that this is, Cleopatra's ethnicity or whatever it is. And that's the truth, and not what is actually written down in history, so to speak. So incidentally, on top of everything else, Lorena, the person who was cast as Cleopatra is a person who has African ancestry, is Black, and the character is being, let's say, Cleopatra, the character or the historical figure, is being portrayed as Black historically, as being, that's what this character or person actually is ethnically. But in actuality, it's not true. And someone is suing them because of this. Lorena, what have you heard about this?
Well, when I first heard about this, and I'm just going to say, when I just heard Netflix is going to put some kind of Cleopatra thing out there, and they had a Black actress. So I'm like, okay, so are they going to do like the Bridgerton treatment where it's historical fiction instead? And I put that on Twitter, and some folks were like flipping out, and they're like, well, it's race swapping, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait a minute, you did see the part where I said artistic interpretation. If it is not an artistic interpretation and you're trying to depict this as indeed fact, then we have a problem, because any person who studied Egyptology for any period of time, and I was addicted to all the documentaries about Egyptian history. As a matter of fact, the man who is suing is the scholar who I've pretty much seen all of his documentaries with respect to Egyptology. So pretty much, Cleopatra was part of the Ptolemaic dynasty, which they believe that they were linked to Alexander the Great, but they were of Greek descent. So they were not of African descent, from what the history that I'd read and had seen and had found out. Now, granted, people tend to forget that Egypt, it is in Africa, but yes, it is in North Africa. North Africa separated from sub-Saharan Africa by the Sahara Desert. So let's get that done. But once I found out that this was a quote unquote docudrama based on Jada Pinkett Smith, what she believed is her truth about who Cleopatra was, I said, now that's where the line is crossed. There. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm just going to take artistic license and I'm going to cast, Cleopatra as a black woman. That's kind of like if I said, hey, I'm going to do the Shakespearean drama and I'm going to cast all Asians in it and I'm going to make it a kung fu flick because that's the heck what I want to do. It's just entertainment. But they are setting this up as fact, not as something theoretical. They're depicting it as fact. Now, another thing that people have to understand is that Egypt gets a lot of money from tourism. You are messing with their money right now for something that you think is your truth, something that does not have a historical basis from. And it's really embarrassing. It really doesn't do anyone a disservice. I don't know how suing is actually gonna, I don't know if they're suing in an Egyptian court. I don't know, but this is probably something Netflix is used to, considering how many productions that they have going on, around the world. But Jada Pinkett Smith is purposely kicking a hornet's nest with this, and there
Yeah.
really no reason to.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you said, and I agree 100%. You and I enjoy Bridgerton immensely, and so does pretty much every woman in the world. We enjoy
Mhm.
that show, and it's a costume drama that is
Mhm.
absolutely not historically accurate, and they tell you that.
Nope.
They tell you it's a fantasy. Just enjoy it, and we have been enjoying it. It is
Oh yeah.
so
Wait for Charlotte's coming out May 4th. I cannot flip and wait.
Oh God, and we will be covering that, guys.
Uh-huh.
But also, I think it's very interesting that it seems like, despite the fact that Netflix has been giving us documentaries, as I said, that have been pretty much historically accurate, we come out with something like this that's kind of editorial, isn't it? Like, it's not really anything you would expect to see in a documentary. Maybe kind of, I don't even know where you put this. It would make a great article, but perhaps not, or a fantasy show, or they say, okay, if she were this,
Mhm.
how she might look. But to declare it as fact, knowing very well that history doesn't state that that's the truth, I have to wonder where it's going. This is building up a lot of publicity for this show. And Netflix has historically, even when it has had shows that would be considered offensive, has not removed a lot of those shows. They kept them on there. I'm not going to say which ones, but we know that there's
Mhm.
a few that were quite questionable, and people actually canceled their subscriptions because they didn't want to support Netflix for supporting something that might be considered inappropriate. I don't know how I feel about this, because I almost thought it was like a joke, like it was a parody or something, but she's
Mhm.
serious, like really serious, dedicated to it. This is so important to them. They want this to be true so badly. And I fear for them because sometimes people want certain things to be true badly and it's not the truth and it becomes a disillusionment. You spend all this time and energy focusing on a fantasy, trying to portray it as a reality. And it's not healthy in this case. I think it could really hurt
Mhm.
them in more ways than one, not just the lawsuit, Lorena, but in
Mhm.
other ways as well. It's a shame that it could even get this far. And do we even know, like the director's talking out, but do we know if Netflix has an opinion about it? Like, what are they happy with this publicity?
Netflix, I think if I just go by just on what's happened with Netflix in the past, it seems like to them all publicity is good publicity. And this is publicity that they don't have to pay for and don't necessarily have to defend because you've got this person, you've got Jada Pickett Smith and her whole, coterie out there trying to trying to defend this. So I'll add a little bit of a dimension. My brother-in-law is of Greek descent. Okay. One of my nieces, of course, both of my nieces are. One of my nieces has more Afrocentric features. So she looks like this actress. My other niece has lighter skin and she has straight hair, like wavy to straight hair. So while it is possible that Cleopatra was more than likely of mixed descent. That's very possible. We haven't seen that. However, if we go by her family lineage, and what we know to be true is that that family was predominantly Greek. So that's what we know. So instead of focusing on Cleopatra being Black, they really should have just focused on Cleopatra, the historical figure. And I don't understand why Jada feels the need to do this because of what it does. And I hate generalizations, but a lot of people who in other countries will consume our media and make certain judgments and think, is this what all Black people in the United States think, that Cleopatra was Black? No. But you have a very vocal minority who are into this whole Afrocentricity thing who want to push this narrative to be true. So let's understand that this is a very small but vocal minority that are playing on an urban legend that is not historically accurate. And they're trying to sell this as accurate. Selling this as accurate is like AMC trying to sell that whole Anne Boleyn miniseries when they have Anne Boleyn as Black.
Yeah, and I did want to mention, and you make a good point, and you and I have actually talked about this as well, Lorena, and their argument about why that actress had to play Anne Boleyn was, and I quote, because she was the best actress to play the role. And
That's a load of bologna
and
sausage, as Coach
and we
Casino would say.
Yes, and we know it's not true, but at no point did they say that that's what Anne Boleyn, ethnic background was. They didn't do that. So it was a fantasy cast. At least that's what I'm calling it, a fantasy cast. And they could have done that in this documentary as well. They could have done a fantasy cast and said, "Yeah, we're depicting her this way." Although most likely, or it's historical fact that she was something else. Um,
Mhm.
but I think it is very interesting the desire, not only is it a desire for her to be something that she's not, but it's also a strong desire to kind of like ask people questions as to, well, why is it so important for you to think she was something different? And I'm thinking to myself,
Yeah.
well, you're asking yourself the same question. If it's important to you, no one's ever questioned this before. You're the
None.
one who's saying that it's not true. We're not saying it isn't true. We're saying we know what she is already. And we didn't have a question about that. No one ever really questioned this. This is something that you're creating as a fantasy of what you want her to be like. No one else in the world is saying, I'm wondering what she was. No, that's not a question that the rest of the world ever had. So that's what's really funny about it. I think, Lorena, at least for me,
Mhm.
that it was never a question. It was a well-known fact of what she was, but this was something they're creating. So, like the response to them is like, well, why do you want her to be something different? No, 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 no. We don't want that. Historically, that's what she is. It has nothing to do with our wants. The question is, why do you want it to be different than what
Mhm.
history dictates? So I think it was very interesting for that to be the excuse. Just go ahead and say that you want her to be that, and you don't give a damn what everybody else says. I guess maybe that is what they're saying in a documentary. But then I have to question the validity, the relevance of this show, whatever it is, Lorena. I certainly don't know whether I can call it a documentary if they're questioning something that historically we know already knew and never had a question about. So, it's something
Yeah,
to think about.
it's I am going to watch it because one, well, first of all, I love Egyptology, and like I've said before, I've seen mostly Zadi,
Yes, yes,
Dr. Hawas's
yes. I love.
documentaries on the History Channel.
Yes, I
So I
love.
have watched those. So I want to see what angle are they coming at with this. Is it historical fact or is it propaganda?
Yeah,
And unfortunately, I feel that it is the latter. So I'm planning to check it out. I do tell people Hollywood is only there to entertain you. They are not there to give you a historical lesson. So whatever you see, you need to verify that stuff for yourself, because a lot of times what actually happened, they can't show you or won't show you.
and the other thing I wanted to add, here they're saying that the lawyer filed a complaint to that accuses this particular show as erasing the Egyptian identity, and I think that that's a very important comment because the I think that for many people, not everybody, but
Mhm.
the assumption of saying, well, this person has to be that ethnicity, and then you're kind of like telling the people from that area oftentimes, or some people maybe dictating to people what their ethnicity is. It's a
Mhm.
very dangerous road to go down. Nobody likes to be told what they are, especially when they know for thousands and thousands of years, especially in cases like this where they know
Mhm. Right.
what people are. And so, I think another and we don't have a lot of time, but and thank you so much for the $2. Oh, thank you, Bob.
You.
You're giving us a chuckle, and I would definitely pay to see this. I want Cleopatra played by Jack Black and drag. You know something, Bob Dylan? He'd do a damn good job.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to say what's really interesting about that notion is, Lorena, you talked about watching the documentaries on the History Channel. And one of these days, you and I are going to go there. We're going to get, he does tours in Egypt. You can hire him for
Oh,
tours. Yeah, you and I are going to do that one of these days. But I also wanted to mention is that for the longest time, Egypt has had to deal, of course, with people coming in and taking antiquities out. And they've gotten a lot of
oh
antiquities.
yeah.
They've gotten a lot of stuff back. But this is kind of like
Mhm.
a little golden age for them, with people having, more Egyptian, ethnically Egyptian Egyptologists, like in the programs that we're seeing these days.
Yes.
This is the last thing they need, is for someone to be questioning their knowledge of a person from their own land. Now that's something else that I think is very interesting, that their expertise even and knowledge of what they
Mhm.
know historically on their land is now being questioned by someone who is neither a scholar of that area but also someone who doesn't know all the facts. So I think it is very interesting, at this very moment where they're kind of having this renaissance. They have the New Cairo Museum, which has been open for a few years, has a lot of visitors, attracting a lot of people to Egypt for this reason. And now they have to deal with
Mhm.
this nonsense. Like it's ridiculous. I hope they blow this out of the water. I hope they make the documentary that debunks this, I guess, if you want to call it. Or whatever. They have to make the definitive Cleopatra documentary. where the real information is given, so people are not misled to for one of the most amazing characters or persons, historical persons in history of all time. Let's give this person, this woman, the credit that she is due for being one of the most famous women in history. And that's probably why they're also want to grab that character or that person as part of their background. That might be another thing. They want to put that feather in their cap.
Mhm.
She was one of us. I don't care what you guys say. So that might be something, another reason. But
I just really think that, again, tourism in Egypt is a big deal. And this could possibly affect the tourism. So there's kind of like an altruistic,
yes,
I won't say ulterior, but let's just say a vested interest in making sure that this is squashed.
agreed. And so with that being said, Lorena and I are squashing it. Um, and but of course we will watch the documentary. I want to thank Bob Dylan for the $2 super chat. Bob, you certainly gave us a chuckle there. Um,
Oh, yeah. I was picturing that in my head.
and honestly, if they could get, if they could write it right, Jack Black could help them make $1 billion in that documentary as well.
Mhm.
It's making me laugh. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for the super chats tonight. Thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson. We are all goof people. Lorena, where can people find you?
Well, folks, you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitch. And of course, you can find me on YouTube doing various videos, live streams about pop culture, anime, and of course, the theme parks as well.
Absolutely, guys. Lorena is an expert in the theme parks. She is always streaming and letting us know what's going on in the parks. She also does videos and panel discussions on what's going on in the parks as well. So definitely check out Lorena's channel. Lorena and I also have our show, Toxic Male Appreciation, which is coming back now that I'm back, as well as anime series, which we review, and watch parties like we're doing tonight, guys. We're doing the Attack of the Doc watch party right here on the Burnettwork at 8 p.m. Lorena and I are going to be watching it. It's available on Amazon, so make sure you guys go ahead and rent it or whatever to see it. I've seen the documentary. It's fantastic. But join us back here at 8 p.m. tonight. And guys, you can always find me on Positive Fandom or on the Burnettwork or on the Rangers channel or on the 1/6 Scale Man Network. So, guys, please don't forget, we do have our watch party tonight, the Attack of the Doc watch party right here on the Burnettwork at 8 p.m. tonight. I want to thank everybody for the super chats, everybody who turned out tonight. Lorena, thank you as always for being here. It's so wonderful.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you as always for having me. I love being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, we love having you here, Lorena. And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.
Bye.